Okay guys, just wanted to go over a few prints with you. I'm at the moment waiting for a video to upload, and as you can see, this is usually the spot where my printer lives, and at the moment I don't have a printer, so I figured I would get some of these other videos I was planning on doing out of the way, and wanted to talk about some materials and some settings and things like that that might help you guys out. A lot of this is probably going to be some examples of fails and then some examples of triumphs. So let's get started. So first couple of prints I want to show you here. Well, let's start with this. So first print I ever printed with my printer. It's one of the test prints that Sunlu gives you. Let's see if I can turn the brightness of this flash down a little bit. That's a little better. Okay. So first print I ever did. It's one of the test prints from Sunlu. And as you can see, I've got all these blobs everywhere. And each one of these blobs was where the hot end just kind of paused for a second and then kept going, and then it would keep going and then it would pause for a second. And this is something that I think everybody who has one of these printers has experienced. It's mainly because of the, or well, it's completely because of the excuse me, it's completely because of the memory card that they give you with the printer. It has to be unloaded, and then it has to be reformatted, and I believe when you put it in your computer, it tells you that it has a virus on it. But what it actually said on mine was that it has a program on it that is known to be used to make viruses. So not quite totally a virus exactly, but I ended up swiping the whole thing and just doing it anyways. And then I printed another one, and it came out perfect. The other test print that they give you, sec. Okay, sorry about that. The other test print that they give you is this weird little funky, I don't know, alien baby, whatever you want to call it. And to be quite honest, this came out quite good. So I had very good high hopes for this printer right off the bat when I printed this. Honestly, a waste of material, just sits around and, you know, collects dust. But, you know, it gave me high hopes. So then I decided to continue, and I made this. Now, not so bad, right? 2020. If you could see that, but this end thing's like a piece of or a roll of toilet paper, but regardless, so this was a lot of cleanup. And you can still see some of the stringing back here. There's still some in between, right there in between the 0 and the 2 there, and in here. Just, I mean, the surface looks okay. There's some, you know, blobs and imperfections. It printed okay, but it was so stringy. And then once I ran out of the original material, started with this Sunlu, this is a Sunlu Silver Silk PLA, and I never really quite could get good parts out of this. Honestly, I was really shocked that these even came out as well as they did, because if I did the other version, these are retraction towers, you know, you're not supposed to see any stringing in between them. If I printed the other style, which is the whole bunch of little mini spikes, I got terrible results, even though these came out perfect. So I honestly don't even know if these are really a valid test print, but I did more of them, but I'll talk about that in a minute. But, you know, I started out with the stuff that they sliced and got good results. this one, again, like I said, after I cleaned out, or after I fixed the memory card issue, that printed perfect as well. But then when I sliced my own in Cura, I just started getting some terrible results, and then it was back and forth checking settings and this and that until I realized that I believe they are using Cura as a CR10, which is what I do now, and I get pretty much very nice results every time now. But the thing is that, you know, this is pretty much a CR10 knockoff is what this printer is, so it works pretty much the same, and as such, the Cura settings for it work damn near perfect. So there's a tip for you. Don't use the generic Cura settings, just go straight for registering it as a CR10. So after deciding that my printer was a CR10, I started doing a bunch of these test prints. I found these on Thingiverse. Yeah, they work, but they just don't, not really quite what I would call the best. So, overhang, right? So we've got everything from 30 to 70. I do apologize, you guys can't see that. I really need to stop printing in white. Too reflective. So looking at the bottom side of this, there we go. You can see pretty nice throughout, honestly. It's a little bit liney here, but it's all, you know, it's textured, but it's not coming apart. This actually adhered to itself, so honestly, yeah, I'd call that a pretty good success. So there's that. This is supposed to be a surface test. See how it prints surfaces, and I'd say it was fairly successful. Nothing really major wrong there. Okay. And then this is our bridge test. Now, as you can see here, once we started to get to the longer ones, we got some stringing. And this isn't adhered, this is just dangling there, so that would, you know, if it was a normal print, I'd be cutting it off and everything else, but honestly, all in all, actually I think this printed like this. Yeah, this printed like that. That makes more sense. But all in all, not too bad. Would have certainly never gotten those results before. And this is a accuracy for, you know, the X, Y, and, you know, just for specifications. Everything seemed to turn out good there. All the dimensions were accurate. This is also a dimensional accuracy test for the thickness of the walls, and then each one of these you would measure, you know, to make sure it ended up there. But unfortunately, even on Thingiverse, they did not exactly give me specifications for what these are all supposed to be. When I measured them and they came out round numbers, I assumed that meant that mine printed okay. And then here we have regular cube. Supposed to be 20 millimeters on every axis. I think if I recall correctly, one of these was like 20.1, but my caliper is only accurate to 1 decimal place, so I mean it really could have been less than that, and they would round it to 0.1, so it is what it is. Close enough. So, now going on to different materials. As we talked about this Sunlu Silk PLA. This is probably one of the better prints I got out of it. Actually, one of the stronger prints I got out of it too, honestly. Most of the prints, that was the problem with this stuff, was it just was not strong. I know I showed you guys this before. This is a Fang. As you can see, I went back through with I have a 3D pen, went back through and filled these in and, you know, sealed these up, put them back together, but just getting the supports off of this thing pretty much freaking made it unusable. the fang itself doesn't seem to me like it was designed for printing. I think it was designed for injection molding. So then we have this fan shroud that I did. Okay, worked nice for a little while, but my problem is it just really didn't hold up. Now, as you can see here, I'm gonna close up there. If you can see it, see it's cracking right where the hole is. These holes, I had to get my 3D pen out and kind of fill them in and then tap them because they didn't print properly. See, there's a little crack there. These holes just pretty much stripped out. They actually designed this so that you would use the actual screws that came with the machine, the ones that were already in the fan shroud, and these just pretty much stripped out, and you can see it's cracked there as well. So I mean, this material is garbage as far as I'm concerned. I will never buy it again. I think I've got one more. I mean, it prints okay. Like here's a nut. Okay, threads came out nice and clear. With a little tweaking, I was able to just make it so that it would print and it would be a nice snug fit. There's the spool holder that I printed there, and again, it broke here, it broke here. I just super glued the thing back together, and then I'm going to go back through with my pen and probably another material just to seal it back up, because it is still PLA, so PLA should stick to it. It's a washer for it. This is a spool holder that I designed. When I get my new printer in, I'll do a video showing, you know, setup and all that. And I'm going to get my printer back, my new printer, up to where my old printer was. Here's the rest of the spool holder. Okay. This is meant to fit right in the V-tracks. Okay. You got to take the printer apart to put it on, but it slides right in and it holds. And actually, I was actually able to design this so that the curvature, or the slant here, sits right underneath the Z, fits right underneath the Z motor. So it just, you know, it literally, I believe I could fit my fingernail between the two of them. So it was very, very nice. But this printed okay. This is, let's see, what is this? Oh, you know what? This is actually this SPLA. I had hardly any good luck with this SPLA. Probably talked about it in another video, but as you can see, it's very stringy. I could probably pull some of these apart, but this piece was really thick. So, I mean, you know, it's strong. I'm not really worried about it breaking, but this stuff was just so hard to print with and get the temperatures right and everything. It's a mix between PLA and PETG. I had a terrible trouble with it clogging nozzles, and then I'd get this monstrosity. Each one of these was from a print that I did. And you can even still see that's where the nozzle was right there, because I let it print overnight after the nozzle got clogged, so you can see the spot where the nozzle sat in there. And then I just made one of these giant boogers. Funny thing is that they printed exactly the same, so I was able to fit them together, and now it's a little paperweight for me. This is also that SPLA, which this was the stringiest material that I ever got. And yet it still printed this retraction tower pretty well perfectly. I mean, it's not perfect, but I printed about 100 of those other ones with the little spikes, and I never was able to get it work I was never able to get it to work properly. Here's another one. You can see it's just ugly. Ugly, ugly, ugly. This is all boogers. So if you're ever thinking about trying the SPLA, I bought it by accident because I thought it was PLA, and I guess I didn't read it properly, but you look at the difference between this, and I did this one in PETG, okay, nice and smooth, reflective, and I had a little trouble when I got the, I broke it. I fixed it though, but I broke it. But that was my own fault. And also, this is a lot heavier than this. This is like featherweight. Okay, this one's like featherweight. This is pretty heavy, and the reason it's so heavy is because I was never able to get the rest of the support material out of it. It was just so stuck together. It sticks really well, I'll give it that, but it's a horror to work with. So I very quickly used up what I had. I mean, honestly, most of it was failed prints anyways, and moved on. So when I moved on, let's see, this is a white PLA. This unit turned out really nice. And I mean, it was a little bit of a pain to get all of the support material. You can see a couple of strings there I never really cleaned out, but overall it's a nice clean print. This was pretty much one big giant piece of support material that I had to get out, and I mean, it wasn't too bad. If you do adjust the Z offset for your support material, the Z height, I set mine to 0.3, and you know, it still gives me a decent surface, you know, underneath, but at the same time it makes it a lot easier to remove the supports. And I got one here from the car. Pretty much got the whole support material out in one piece. Just kind of, you know, that's the whole thing there, pretty much. Get rid of that. And then I moved on to PETG. So I started with some cubes just to see how it was going to print. Honestly, they came out decent. You know, there's definitely some, I forget what you call that, mirroring effect there. Trailing, whatever. But a couple of settings later, and I think it was all temperature, to be quite honest. There's a little bit there, but it's definitely a lot better. But this stuff's a lot tougher too. Like, the reason that this brim is still on here is because it takes some effort to rip that off. I think I did a little too much squish on that one when I printed it, but definitely good results, just once you get your temperatures right. Honestly, the settings in Cura really aren't that bad. You could probably just live with what's in there. So I reprinted my fan shroud because when I got my new printer, and I wanted a new one, and this turned out awesome. And honestly, I was pretty much able to just rip the support material right out of this. I hardly had any troubles with this at all. This was a beautiful piece, and it turned out nice, and it is strong. Compared to that other one that I have there, it is definitely strong. And I mean, even these imperfections in here where the support material were in there, it's still nice and smooth. It's not boogered up or anything. Did very well. And then I have, so I definitely do some working with PETG. Honestly, I think I'm going to make that my go-to. Obviously, PLA has its place because the PETG, I wasn't able to do the fine details as well. Like, this would have never printed properly, and the threads would certainly not be there in something this small had I used PETG. And stuff like this, I used like a 50 to 60% infill on a PLA or something like that. But this was more of a test. That's why it's, you know, I didn't really care. I didn't really spend a lot of time cleaning it up because I'm not really going to use it. But printed in place. I set just a small gap in between the two of these and made the hole inside this mount to be very slightly larger than the axle itself here. And, you know, it just took a second to break these away, but, you know, they spin nice and freely. Yeah, it's kind of hard to do that with one hand, but As you can see, they just, you know, so printed in place. I mean, it takes some time to get the specs right for these so that, you know, you don't have too much, so that you don't have too much of a wobble to them, but at the same time they just break away. And then, you know, maybe you push this aside, do a little sanding in here just to smooth it out, you know, really well, so if you want it to free flow. But very successful. Another thing I wanted to note, I have a couple of nozzles here. Always check your nozzles, always clean your nozzles. You can see these are just plugged solid. If you are having a large issue with under extrusion, or maybe even you're just having some print issues and you don't really know what's going on, clean your nozzles out. If you can't seem to get them clean that's still there, just replace the damn things. They're really cheap, you know, so there's that. And I just started my first experience with a, let's see if we got that here. No, you're going to be too reflective, aren't you? No, there we go. 0.6 millimeter nozzle. Wanted to try this for a while. I just tried it. Of course, it's got to be the day before I get rid of my printer, but these are the results. My first go at it. Okay, so this honestly printed out pretty well perfect. This is a steering rod, and honestly, I mean, obviously I still need to clean it up and everything, but it looks pretty good for the first time around. These are little supports. Okay, I printed these, and I'm going to be able to see that, but there's threads in there. Honestly, they actually look pretty good. I was impressed at the quality of the threads. I assumed that these were going to be severe, you know, sorely or poorly done. I'm sorry. Now the outside definitely needs some work, but again, this is my first go at it, and I didn't really fine-tune any of the settings yet for this, because obviously you got to change some things around. I did up the heat. I almost want to say I probably want to slow it down, because most of this is under extrusion. Same with this. But I will make a note, when you are doing small things with a larger nozzle, it is just not a good idea. This piece very badly overshot its mark. It is way larger than it's supposed to. As you can tell with the amount that it's flat when it's supposed to be round. And I think that was where the amount of squish started, and what they call elephant's foot. And because it's such a small piece, it just did the elephant's foot throughout the whole thing, so it's probably, I don't know, a third bigger than it's supposed to be. This is supposed to be a little control rod for the steering, supposed to fit in that hole right there, but as you can see, it doesn't even come close to making it. So 0.6 millimeter nozzle's good for what it's good for. Honestly, I think when I get my new printer, I'm going to install it and then print another one of these, and then print another one of these, because I think that they drastically change your print time. I think these were done at a 0.3 millimeter layer height. So that's it. That's all I got for you guys today. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope you can gather something from this. Let me know in the comments below if you have any questions, if there's anything else that I missed. I will be continuing to expand my knowledge, and hopefully get some more information for you guys, and then do another video. Sorry if these end up being a little bit long, but I am long-winded, so there's that. Alright, so thanks for coming to Gary's place. You guys are always welcome, and if you like what you've seen in all my videos, please subscribe below. I do have a few more videos that I plan on doing, and you know, hopefully you guys get something out of this. Alright, well, enjoy.